magre-record tayo ng ating mga discussion doon sa modules na pinrepare ko sa inyo. So, para dyan sa ating Ed 1 session, no, tingnan ninyo yung inyong module doon sa module 1. Yan. So, hopefully, magiging okay sa atin ang setup na ganito dahil tayo ay blended, no. There will be sessions that I'll be doing synchronous session with you, and the other one will be asynchronous. Yan. Sige. So, meron akong ibibigay sa inyo na quiz, yung first quiz natin after ng discussion na ito. So, partly doon sa ibang mga naging estudyante ko during our previous meeting, I have presented to you the initial part or discussion about module 1, which is child and adolescent growth and development. That's the title of our first module, no. Under child and adolescent learner and learning principle subject or Ed 1. Yan, sige. So you can follow through the presentation as I discuss with you dun sa ating module, no, doon sa inyong material, yung doon sa pinadala ko sa inyo, no. So I hope yung iba nakapagbasa ng advance, yung iba ay nakapag print yata, no. So I am giving you all the liberty on doing it, like for example yung reading it in advance or printing it for your personal consumption. Yan. So, doon sa mga ibang sessions ko, diniscuss ko na yung what's the difference between a child and adolescent. So, basically, sabi natin yung why educators, no, need to study child development. Dapat doon pala ako kasi yung camera doon, ano, nakikita ko kasi yung ano. Sige. So, why educators need to study child growth and development? So, that is a very big question, ano. Ako na rin sasagot para sa inyong lahat, para hindi na kayo masyadong mahiram. Of course, since that we will be dealing with students, and these students are with varied orientation, no, at iba-iba rin ang kanilang mga training sa bahay, mahalagang malaman natin, no, yung mga pattern of development para guided tayo when we'll become teachers someday. Sabi ng ating material, child development refers to biological, psychological, and emotional changes that occur in human beings between birth and the end of adolescence. So, you have to take note that change, no, change happens, no, to every human being, and this includes physical or biological change, psychological meaning mental, no, and emotional. So that's part of child development, no. So it is a continuous process with a predictable sequence yet having unique course for every child. Anong ibig sabihin niya dun sa it is a predictable but unique process, no. So ibig sabihin kagaya ng learning at kagaya ng other creature, no. So ang development follows yung growth ay follows a specific pattern, although doon sa pattern na yun magkakaiba-iba ang mga na-encounter ng mga tao, no. So yan diyan kasama yung kung anong orientation o saan ka lumaki, no. Like for example yung twin. So, pareho silang biologically originated from these parents, no, pero nagkahiwalay ng environment nung lumaki sila. So, pwedeng maapektuhan ang kanilang development. Yan. So, in this material, no, in our module 1, there are 4 concepts that are very crucial in our study, no. These are child, adolescent, growth, and development. And the definition of these will help you to better understand the perspective of child and adolescent growth and development. So let's start with a child. So to give you, doon sa ibang modules natin, marami tayong mga discussions tungkol dito. So this just is an initial point for discussion para ma-guide kayo, no? So sabi dito, child, this refers to a young person who is below the age of puberty and age of legal maturity, which varies, no, among culture. So we will be using the basis for declaring child adult or child, no? Sabi ng United Nations Convention on the Rights of Child, and it says here that you can be named as child if you are below 18. So kapag ikaw ay below 18 or hindi ka pa pumatak ng 18, may tuturing ka pang child, no? So yung mga below 18 dyan, bata pa talaga kayo, child pa kayo, ha? Huwag masyadong mag-ilusyon sa buhay, no? How about adolescent? So we have defined already what child is all about. So pag child, below 18, no? And sa adolescent naman, sabi dito, adolescent is from the Latin word adolescere, which means to grow up into maturity. The term usually connotes to a person's developing or turning into the age of maturity. Adolescence is a period of transition from childhood to adulthood. That is according to Mas in 1990. For another definition, if I may, no, to define the stage of adolescence, ito yung stage of big transition from childhood, no, to early adulthood, no? So yun ang adolescent. Minsan ang adolescent period, yan yung stage of curiosity and paano ko ba describe yun dati? Stage of discovery and curiosity. You should take note of those two words that I've mentioned. Okay. So now let's go to growth. What is the difference between growth and development? No, because we are studying child and adolescent growth and development. So, pag tinatawag natin growth, ang tinutukoy natin sa growth ay yung ating physical changes, no? This includes yung muscle development, yung organ and structure, no? That is what we call growth, no? So I'll give you the complete definition as it is also available in your module, no? Sabi dito, refers to progressive increase and continuous advancement of the child from birth to maturity. It is characterized by the increment in the body tissues, organs, structures. And when we talk about growth, we should not be confused about the different definition of growth as it is being compared to maturity. Sa maturity naman, sabi niya, maturity refers to the part of development that is controlled from within the internal growth. So iba naman yon, no? So pwedeng referring to psychological state of being a human being. Yan. So magkaiba sila, no? Basta tandaan ninyo, pag tinatawag natin growth, ang tinutukoy natin ay ang physical change. Pwedeng pagbabago ng height, ng timbang, or ang structure, yung katayuan mismo. How about development? Development refers to the gradual and orderly unfolding of characteristics of the individuals as they go through successive stages of growth. It is also implies an increasingly progressive, maturity of behavior, as well as organization of personality and character. So, kapag ang tao ay nagbabago ang kanyang physical na kalalagayan, mayroon itong counterpart na pagbabago rin. So, yun tinatawag nating development. So, more or less, kung i-compare natin sa yung growth, yun yung tangible change, no? Yung physical change na pwede nating manotice sa isang tao. Kapag development naman, ito yung behavior, no? Yung pag-uugali, yung emotions, yung dealings with other people. So that's development. Clear tayo doon, ha? Okay, sige. So, what's the importance of child and adolescent growth and development? Of course, child and adolescent growth and development is a study of physical, physiological, cognitive, and social changes, and the factors that influence these changes that our child experience and goes through from birth to adulthood. Yan. We make use of this discipline or study, no, for us to be guided on how to deal with young child, no, sa kanyang paglaki, sa kanyang ano yung mga adjustments na pwede nating ma-notice, no. We have theories of human development. So pag sinabi nating theory, mga sample studies conducted, no, ng mga kilalang educational psychologists, developmental psychologists, no? Sabi nila, theories of development provide a framework for thinking about human growth, development, and learning. A theory of development deals with changes over time, no? So, and it is usually concerned with, so saan ba tumutukoy ang mga pag-aaral na ito tungkol sa pag-unlad ng tao, no? Sabi nito kasi changes over time within an area or several areas, yan. Changes among areas of development, yan. Explanation of these changes, no? And so on and so forth. So may mga debate, no? Paano ba ano ang mga factors na mas impluwensya, no? Mas ma-impluwensya sa tao habang siya daw lumalaki. Halimbawa, kaya ba siya ganyan kasi ganyan talaga ang kanyang nature, or dahil lang pinalaki siya ng kanyang paligid para maging ganun siya. So yon. So that is the theory of the nature and nurture. So pag tinatawag nating nature, yung innate sa'yo, no? Yung likas sa'yo, ibig sabihin, when we compare the idea, no? Halimbawa, so yung kambal, balikan natin yung kambal. So yung kambal, siyempre pareho sila ng genes, no? Although hindi naman, kahit kambal sila, hindi naman perfect ang kanilang pagkaroon ng similarity, kasi meron pa rin yan, may pagkakaiba pa rin. Pero siguro when it comes to yung intelligence side, sa yung cognitive ability, no, kung yung isang bata ay napunta doon sa medyo hindi ano ba yan, yung hindi well off na family at challenge talaga yung kanilang buhay, no, marunong ang bata pero hindi natin manonotice kaagad ang kanyang exceptional performance dahil nakapag hinder sa kanyang paglago bilang tao yung kanyang physical or ang kanilang cultural na kalalagayan. Kasi halimbawa nakatira sa slum area, bago yung isang kambal napunta doon sa medyo may kaya, no? So nagkaroon ng mga advanced opportunity para ma-expose sa mga bagay na makatulong sa kanya para maging lumago siya. So nandyan ang story about is development biological or environmental, yan. is development universal or culture specific? So dahil ba ito ay dikta ng lipunan kaya ganyan, or dahil gusto niya talaga yan talaga lang ang nasunod niya? So pwede mga tanong yun, ano. So yan, nandiyan ang traits sa situation. So, aralan nyo na lang doon sa mga stories na yun, ano. Yan, okay. So now, the salient points of various theories about child and adolescent growth and development are helpful in this study. These theories have influenced educators, parents, and other people involved in child rearing on how they think of children and how to educate them. So, nandyan ang maturational theory, no? Maturationist perspective. So, ano ang sinasabi ng pananaw na ito? It was introduced by Arnold Jessel, no? Ang sinasabi niya, lahat ng mga number one, development has biological basis. Lahat ng mga pagbabago na nakikita natin ay produkto ng biological na orientation, no? Sabi niya. Sinabi niya rin na good and bad years alternate. So lahat ng series of experiences na naranasan ng bata ay it is a balance of good experience and bad experience. But these types of experiences contributed to the development of a child. Yan. Body types are correlated with personality development. So may mga theory na ang body or physical structure ay may kinalaman minsan sa type of personality na pwedeng mai-connect ang tao. That is according to Arnold Jessel, no? So, practitioner subscribing to maturational theory consider any difficulties a child's experiences as being found within a child. So what is the implication of the theory that he cited, no? Children in classrooms who are youngest and have late birthday are often branded by teachers as lower and less ready for instruction. So, theory niya lang yun. We do not necessarily adhere to such idea, no? So, dahil sabi daw, yun ang implications kapag inisip mo na naniniwala ka sa pananaw ni Jessel, no? Okay. Sabi pa dito, so, this theory ascertains that the level of neurological development and the genetic directed increase of physiological development directly affect the development of physical abilities, no? So may mga views tayo doon sa traditional system of education, ano, na kapag physically may deformity, no, or mayroong mental deformity, affected ang lahat ng kanyang gagawin. So, nung hindi pa inintroduce ang MI ni Howard Gardner, parang limited lang yung paniniwala natin sa intelligence. Ang sabi natin, pag intelligent ka tao, ito lang ang alam. Pero, nung inintroduce ang MI, binago yun, no? Another theory is the object relations theory. Object relation theory was introduced by so ang object relation theories introduced tinan natin, dali lang Simon Freud mismo, in the psychodynamic perspective. So sabi nila, object relation theory is concerned about how people understand and represent the relationship with other people. The object in the object relation theory are a representation of people. Example, how others are experienced, represented, and remembered by the other person during the objectification. Object relation therapists note that people's early relationship often set the tone that later relationship will take, no? So ito yung sinasabi na yung growth or the development ng isang tao, no, pwedeng caused by largely by how environment or the objects within that environment affect or influence you. So tinutukoy nating object yung tao, kung mas maraming sasabihin ng tao, mas malaki ang kanyang impluwensya sa iyo, mas malaki ang nagiging epekto nito sa pagbabago mo bilang tao. Yan, sabi ni Simon Freud. Okay, lipat tayo sa constructivist integrationist perspective. So the process of integration, sige, hopefully matapos ko itong mga theories na ito, yan, marami-rami din siya kasi isang module nga ito, di ba? Isang module natin yan, saka alam ko excited kayong pag-aralan ito, so pwede nyo naman basahin, pwede nyo naman aralan, pero ikwento ko lang konti, yan. Ano naman ang sinasabi ng theory na ito? So, sabi dito, the constructivist perspective of readiness and development was introduced by, ito yung mga proponents, sila Piaget, sila Montessori, sila Vygotsky. Doon sa mga succeeding sessions natin, madidiscuss natin ito ng thorough. Mabibigyan ko kayo ng mga inputs nito, especially doon sa isang subject ko, pero ito pahapyaw lang, so their work varies greatly, but they articulate on similar contexts of learning and development. They are consistent in their belief that learning and development occur when young children interact with the environment and people around them. So there is that scaffolding of knowledge, and the construction of knowledge is highly influenced by people who are having a direct contact with you or relationship with you or dealings or activities with you, So constructivist theories emphasize the importance of context in the child development, So yun, ang pananaw nila ay young children as active participant in the learning process, yan, and believe that young children initiate most of the activities required for learning and development. So may mga counter statement, kaya nga dapat when a child is being sent to a formal institution for learning, dapat malakas ang learning institution. Ibig sabihin, hindi i-allow ng formal institution, ng school, na ang paraan ng pag-acquire ng bata ng pagkatuto ay batay lang doon sa limitadong alam niya. Kasi kung siya lang ang susundin, okay din naman, kasi pwede nga siya, kumbaga innate din sa kanya na may alam siya, innate din sa kanya na kaya niya, pero the idea of formal education, which is being offered by the formal school, nagkakaroon tayo ng opportunity to refine, yung kanyang needs, So another thing, cognitive development perspectives, sila din ito ulit. So as introduced by John Piaget, it suggests that children think differently than adults and propose a stage theory of cognitive development. He was the first to note that children play an active role in gaining knowledge of the world. According to his theory, children can be thought of as a little scientists who actively construct their knowledge and understand the world. So it is correct, That is why we do not underestimate children, Yung mga maliliit na bata, we do not underestimate them. Why? Because at their very young state of mind, once in their lifetime or most of the time, they are thinking that they are adult. So if they think that they are adult, it is a mixed statement of being in the body of a young child and at the same time in the mind of an adult. So normal na nangyayari yun, no? So kaya minsan ginagamit natin na ano yun, parang sinasabi ng matatanda, para kang matanda mag-isip because it's normal, no? Pwedeng isipin ng bata yun, no? Na kaya nga may laro-laro, di ba? Ano pag naglalaro sila, nanay at tatay lang, di ba? So usually ganun ang trend. Okay, another is the behaviorist theory, no? The environmentalist theory. Behavioral theories of a child development focus on how environmental interaction influences behavior, and this theory was introduced by sila Watson, sila Tolman, sila Pavlov, sila Skinner, no? So this theory differs considerably from other child development theories because it gives no consideration into internal thoughts or feeling. Instead, its focus is purely on how experience shapes who we are, no? So yon. Okay, so okay na siya. Alam ko na yun lang ang main thought niya, pero mahabang explanation, no? Okay, next, let's go to the evolutionary perspective. This is the application of the basic principle of the Darwinian theory of evolution, no? So under the natural selection process, the natural selection concepts, no, to explain contemporary development. It involves the study of genetic and environmental mechanism that underlie the universal development of social cognitive competencies and evolved epigenetic process that adapt these competencies to local conditions. It assumes that behaviors and cognitions are products of natural selection pressures operating over the course of evolutions and are characteristic of children's behavior and minds. So, ano yung ibig sabihin dito naman sa theory of evolutionary development, no? Sabi niya yung kailangan may friction, no? Kailangan may experience ng bata na may friction, and that's the time kapag na-survive niya yung friction na yon, no? Nagkakaroon ito ng reshaping and shaping, no? Shaping of his own thought or his own behavior, no? So, kung it's either doon sa dalawang force na yon or forces, kung sino yung influential, siya ang magkukos ng siya ang magkukos ng tinatawag natin ng gene environment interaction. Siya yung magli-lead para makapag-adapt yung marami doon sa kanyang system or sa kanyang practice or sa kanyang belief, no? This theory also proposes that an evolutionary account would provide some insight not only to predictable states of ontogeny. Yan, ang ontogeny, ano tawag na ontogeny, no? Yung growth, development, maturism, but also, no, into specific differences between individuals. So, such perspective suggests that there are multiple alternative strategies to recurring problem that human being or human children would have faced throughout the evolutionary past, and that individual differences in the development patterns are not necessarily, no? So sabi nito, this perspective theorizes that a child's behavior and personality may be reflected by the basic will to survive and be productive, no? It also suggests that behavior is reflected by the genetic will to survive. So, naniniwala ang mga theorists, no, ng view na ito, na kaya nga pag if you are some sort of parang not so good to say, but if you are weak, no, not only physically but mentally, there is a tendency for you to be to be left behind, no? Sad to say for that, no? to be governed by others, no? So yun. Number 7, yan, malapit na tayo. Okay. Number 7, information processing perspective, no? So ano itong information processing perspective? Information processing theory emerged in 1950s, no? When psychologists involved in the information processing movement began to view that the brain as a neural computer processes information, computer that processes information with extraordinary efficiency and excellent performance in problem solving and critical thinking. Through the process increasingly enhanced over time, the idea of information processing lies with the cognitive psychology, and as a theory combines multiple theory perspectives that mainly seek to explain human learning as development of network, no? So yan. The theory is based on the idea that humans process the information they receive rather than merely responding to stimuli. Ano yung ulit ang stimuli na tinatawag? Anything that is being noticed by your senses, no? Yung mga stimuli na yan, no? So this perspective equates the mind to a computer which is responsible for analyzing information from the environment. Yan. So the information processes theory follows the hardware software idea of computer, no? So kaya kapag ikaw ay nag-insert ng garbage sa iyong computer, I mean, halimbawa, kung di mo masyadong kailangan, nagsisave ka pa. So, nagkukos lang sa ng additional baggage sa computer mo. Same thing with the development process, no? Pag hindi natin na-train na mag-eliminate at magkaroon ng mga informed decisions in life, di ba? Nakakaranas tayo ng failure, no? So, the information processing theory and instructional model rely on 3 principles. Ano yung mga ito? Number 1, the information provided by your environment is constantly processed by complex series of systems. Number 2, the processing systems modify the information we gather in the systematic ways. So, with the advent of technology and with the development of the video tutorial learning using computer, no? So sometimes we have the option to really look for the best source, no? And the primary goal of research tasks that delved into information processing is to determine which process and brain structures are behind cognitive performance. Yan, di ba? So, lipat tayo. Next, another theory. Marami-rami na binanggit ko, ha. So, another theory is the Sociocultural Perspective. The Sociocultural Perspective was introduced by Lev Vygotsky. What is the idea of the Sociocultural Perspective of Development? Sabi dito, every function in child's cultural development appears twice. First on the social level and later on the individual level. First between people, so interpsychological and then intrapsychological. This applies equally to voluntary attention, to logical memory, and to the formation of concepts. So all the higher functions originate as actual relationship between individuals. So naniniwala ang sociocultural theorist na si Lev Vygotsky, no, na malaki ang impact ng mga nasa paligid, no, para magkaroon ng pagkaroon ng yung parang pagsasara doon sa kung ano ba talaga ang tama at mali, kung ano ba talaga ang pwede at hindi. Yan. So, from these perspectives, as learners participate in a broad range of joint activities and internalize the effects of working together, they acquire new strategies and knowledge of the world and culture. Typically, this tenet has been illustrated examining the interaction between individuals with disparate knowledge level. For example, children and their caregivers. So caregivers in this subject or this course of study refers to anybody with direct supervision to a young individuals, yung mga child. Halimbawa, pwedeng nanay, tatay, yaya, yan. So, mga kasama sa bahay na pwede mag-supervise sa young ones. So, tinatawag natin caregivers, no? That is a generic term, no? So, yan. Okay. Sociocultural theory focuses not only on how adults and peers influence individual learning, but also on how cultural beliefs and attitudes impact how instruction and learning take place. So, ganda, no? So, sa isang subject ko sa Ed 5, may thorough discussions tayo nito sa mga ibang araw yan. Another, let's go to theory number 9, a developmental or the ecological system perspective. The theory about ecological system of development was introduced by Bronfenbrenner. Bronfenbrenner believed that a person's development was affected by everything in the surroundings environment. He divided the person's environment into 5 different levels. Yan. The microsystem, the mesosystem, the exosystem, the macrosystem, and the chronosystem. Let's discuss these types of levels, no? So, doon sa kanyang pananaw na the ecological or the developmental type of developmental theory which anchors its view to the yung ecosystem. Sabi niya, so yung 5 na yun yung bubuo doon sa pagkatao natin, no? Bilang tao. Okay, sige. So, number 1 is microsystem. From the word micro refers to the institution that groups the most immediate. So, ito yung family, school, religious institution, community, and neighborhood. Yan. Or peers. That's microsystem. So, next is mesosystem. This is the interconnection between microsystem and its interaction with other system. Like for example, ibang family, ibang teachers, or the relationship of a child from his immediate family to the other family. Yan. So that's mesosystem. What about exosystem? Exosystems involves links between the social setting in which the individual does not have an active role, an individual immediate context. So, ito yung kanyang group pero parang pakiramdam niya hindi siya nag-i-exist. Instead, doon siya sa isang another groups, no? Another set, no? Because parent might receive a promotion that requires more travel, which might increase conflict with the other parent and change patterns for interaction with the child. So, ito yung mga reasons. Halimbawa, kasi hindi kanya kinalakyan. So, instead of looking up you as, instead of looking at you as a person na sinasabing immediate, no, dahil hindi available, nagkukos ito ng choices sa bata para hanapin outside. So we call that exosystem. Another, macro system. Macro system involves links between the setting, social setting, in which the individual does not have active role in the individual's immediate context. For example, a parent or a child's experience at home may be influenced by other parents. No, I'm sorry. It described macro system. This describes the culture in which individuals live. Cultural contexts include developing an industrialized country. This includes the socioeconomic status and its influence to your life in general. Like for example, if you're living in a first world country, whether you would like to adapt the system with such highly urbanized practice, yung mga mayamang So, by no choice, kailangan mo siyang i-adapt kasi diyan nag-i-evolve ang iyong community, ang buhay mo, So, the macro system evolves over time, because such successive generation may change from macro leading to their development in a unique macro system. So, common ito sa mga it's either yung highly industrialized country or yung highly extremist country. So like for example, yung mga very culturally oriented countries like yung Africa, etc. So ang galawan ng pag-adapt ng kanilang paglago or pag-unlad bilang tao ay highly dictated by yung kung ano yung kinasanayan. So, yung pangkalahatan, macro, Another is the chronosystem. Chronosystem, the patterning of environmental events and transition over the life course, as well as socio-historical circumstances. So, those type of experiences where you are being affected indirectly or indirectly, you and your family or your microsystem. Kagaya ngayon, example natin yung ating nararanasan sa COVID, So, we are all being affected indirectly. So, malaki ang naging epekto nito sa atin. Next, we have another theory of development, yung lifespan perspectives. Lifespan perspectives can be defined as the period that extends from conceptions to death. Lifespan development is a process that begins at conception and continues to death. The lifespan perspective argues that significant modification take place throughout the development. The belief that development occurs throughout life is central to the lifespan perspective on human development. According to lifespan development expert Paul Baltes, the lifespan perspective views development as a lifelong, multidimensional, multidirectional, plastic, multidisciplinary, and contextual, and as a process that involves growth, maintenance, regulations of laws, and it is being viewed as important to understand that developments constructed through biological, sociocultural, and development factors working together. So the lifespan theory focus its idea on from the birth, yung the preparation of what is life to be after birth and till death, so that is its view, so naniniwala sila na kung paano tinitingnan ng tao ang paglago niya, pwedeng dumidepende yung kanyang pananaw tungkol sa kanyang lifespan, so ang kanyang buhay, another one is the humanist perspective. So humanist perspective as introduced by Carl Rogers in Abraham Maslow. Sabi dito, the humanist perspectives emphasize free will, the ability Yan, the ability of humans to make choices and come to decision about their lives instead of relying on societal standards. People are assumed to be motivated to make their own decisions about what they do with their lives. So, sabi dito, it's more on the primary goal, no? The primary goal of this belief is the self-actualization. So at the end of the day, if you try to copy others, no, yun ang gustong sabihin ng mga humanist. If you try to copy others' belief, others' view, parang all your life mangungopia ka na lang. Where in fact, whatever is innate in you, just find time to have focus to find it and be as human as you can, no? So no problem. Wala ro maging problema, no? Kasi this is also being supported by the theory of the hierarchy of needs, no? So the more that you have reached the level of self-actualization, the more you realize that whatever possession that you have, no, yung lahat ng mga possession, ng mga pag-aari na meron, walang kwenta yan, no, mawawala ito. Yan. Another is ethological theory perspective. So ano sinasabi dito? Ethological theory perspective stresses that behavior is strongly influenced by biology, is tied to evolution, no? And is characterized by critical or sensitive periods. These are specific time frames during which, according to ethologists, the presence or absence of certain experience has a long-lasting influence on individual. Yan. So ang sa pag-aaral ni Conrad Lawrence, sabi niya ang theory daw ng ethology ay, sabi niya, the central concept to this theory is to imprint the rapid innate learning that to imprinting or the rapid innate learning that involves attachment to the first moving object that is seen. Ano ibig sabihin nun? So, malaki ang influence ng biological being para sa pag-absorb mo ng mga cultural side of your development. So sabi niya, lahat naniniwala siya na ang pag-unlad ay pwedeng highly biologically. So we need to have yung okay ang biological side natin. Ibig sabihin okay ang ating condition, okay ang health natin. The last one is the theory of multiple intelligences. Hindi ko na i-discuss ito sa inyo dahil alam nyo na. At malalaman ninyo ito sa ating mga succeeding session. So, for that, I'd like you to do additional research on this, attach in your module, no, yung reference na ginagamit natin, no, may mga nakalagay ng mga other sources diyan, pwede ninyong i-maximize yan para meron kayong magamit. So for now, no, make use of the time to really read and understand what is being stated in your module 1. Now don't worry, after this I'll be giving you the first quiz siguro, so abangan nyo na lang. And wait for the other videos to be uploaded. So yun lang. I hope you learn, no? So if you have questions, you can ask your group leader to have it sent to me. Only one should send their question, di lahat, kasi hindi natin ma-accommodate, no? Para ma-filter din if you have questions with similar answer or similar type of questions, ma-filter na natin. So with that, thank you very much and bye-bye.